Kentucky's Voice is your home for real news, real people, and real answers. We can't do it without you. Your financial support helps us bring truth to the forefront, hold leaders accountable, and give a voice to the people of the Commonwealth. Join the fight today. Give online at kyvoice.org or text KYVoice to 53555. Every gift makes a difference. Stand with us. Speak up. Stay strong. You are Kentucky's voice.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
Open borders, shameful abandonment, disregard for human life, the prospect of more mandates and lockdowns, and the list goes on. Now more than ever, we need to stick together. Voting alone is not enough. We must use our dollars to support like-minded companies that fight for our rights and beliefs. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. Last year, we gave more than $500,000 to conservative causes. With your support, we'll give more than $1.5 million this year. It's time to band together and support companies that truly love America and fight for our freedoms. Will you join us?
Kentucky's Voice is your home for real news, real people, and real answers. But we can't do it without you. Your financial support helps us bring truth to the forefront, hold leaders accountable, and give a voice to the people of the Commonwealth. Join the fight today. Give online at kyvoice.org or text KYVoice to 53555. Every gift makes a difference. Stand with us. Speak up. Stay strong. You are Kentucky's voice.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
Open borders, shameful abandonment, disregard for human life, the prospect of more mandates and lockdowns, and the list goes on. Now more than ever, we need to stick together. Voting alone is not enough. We must use our dollars to support like-minded companies that fight for our rights and beliefs. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. Last year, we gave more than $500,000 to conservative causes. With your support, we'll give more than $1.5 million this year. It's time to band together and support companies that truly love America and fight for our freedoms. Will you join us?
Voice Radio, covering the latest state and local issues with Tom Fallbush, Bob Scott, and Jim Waters.
All right, welcome to Kentucky's Voice. I'm your host today, Tom Fallbush, and we've got a pretty interesting show lined up for you today, and I know you're going to enjoy it, so stick around. We've got a really great interview with a young lady who is at Cumberland College, dealing with some issues related to TPUSA, and I think you're going to want to hear about this because it's interesting how a Christian college is pushing back on allowing students to set up a TPUSA chapter. It's like, what? I mean, this is TPUSA is as Christian as it gets, and yet a Christian college is pushing back. So we're going to talk to her about that. And also, I've got my co-host today, Bob Scott, who's on Zoom with me today. And so Bob, what's going on? It's just a busy time in the world right now. I mean, just locally, nationally, there's so many topics we could hit today. The challenge I had prepping the show today is like, what do we not cover?
Figuring out what to do.
Yeah, exactly. What do we not cover? I mean, you've got everything from, we're about to go to war with Iran again. We're about to, we're dealing with
Minnesota,
yeah, of course, locally and nationally here, how that plays out.
Venezuela,
Venezuela still fallout from that. Cuba, okay.
Yep.
Then just locally, we're dealing with the state legislature. The state, we're in session right now. This is the budget session. There's a lot of great bills that have been put forward by a lot of our regular guests here, like T.J. Roberts, who's on the show quite a bit. He's put some bills up that are just awesome, and I wanted to touch on some of those. And so we've got a lot to cover today, but so we got about 3 minutes. So Bob, so just with all that, what is on your mind right now with just everything going on in the world? What kind of keeps you? What when you flip open your social media, what are you looking at first? What I'm
seeing, obviously, right now, the central focus, among the other things that you were just talking about, is Iran. And. Are we going to enter into some kind of military action there? I know President Trump is committed, for the most part, not doing a boots on the ground type situation, but it is going to be very interesting. And, obviously we're all watching that closely. My oldest son is serving in the military, and maybe at some point, pulled into any engagement that would happen. He's on the military police side of things. But yeah, that is absolutely for sure something that we all need to be concerned about and be focusing on.
That's right. And if you haven't kept up with the news in the past 24 hours, what happened last night is they closed the airspace in Iran. And so that usually happens prior to an attack, some sort of attack. And I think the Iranians themselves close the airspace, I believe. I'm not sure how that works. If some outside body closes the airspace, or the Iranians do. Regardless, if you looked at a flight map over Iran, it was just totally empty, except for a couple little planes coming in from China. A lot of people were speculating, well, that's Khomeini. He's getting out. He's flying back to China. So who knows? I don't know. So who knows what's happening today or tomorrow? But things are looks like they're lining up for some sort of attack and strike, and we just have about a minute left. But Bob, it seems like there's a certain genius to this. I mean, first of all, America first, MAGA folks like ourselves, we're very much instinct is to focus at home. Let's pull out of these foreign wars. We need to protect our borders and build our country back. However, we still have adversaries like China, like Russia, like Iran that we have to deal with. And if we just leave them alone, they're just going to grow and metastasize and become a larger problem.
Well, they're already playing in our hemisphere, Tom.
That's right.
I mean, they've been actively engaged in Venezuela for at least 25 years.
Exactly. Exactly
and
right.
obviously Russia a lot longer than that in Cuba. So, uh, the Trump Monroe Doctrine is definitely in play right now,
The Don Roe
and
Doctrine.
the Don Roe Doctrine, as he refers to it, and it's. I personally think it's a good thing that he's doing.
Yeah, I think it's genius, and it's genius for. And we only have a few seconds left, but it's genius because of this. If we shut down Iran, guess what? Guess where China gets a lot of their oil? Iran.
Yep.
So there we go. So and Venezuela. So it's Venezuela and Iran. We cut those two off. Bam. China's really hurting, and that's it's a good thing because that regime is evil. Okay, we'll be right back. We're going to talk to Brooklyn Cornett with company.
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
All right, welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. I'm your host today, Tom Fallbush, and we have my co-host, Bob Scott, and it is the Tom and Bob Show. Just like we've said in the past, we can't use Bob and Tom because it's copyrighted, so it's the Tom and Bob Show. But I'd rather have Bob's name
And you're
first.
way important than me anyway, Tom. So that
No, I'd rather have your name first.
I'm good with the Tom and Bob Show.
No. Anyway, so listen, we want to get right into our guest. We have Brooklyn Cornett. She is a student at Cumberland University, and I met her a few weeks ago at a TPUSA Faith event, and they were just sharing some concerns they had about their university, and I wanted to bring her on and talk about it. She is I think one of the chapter presidents, or is that right? Well, let's bring her. Brooklyn, are you there with us? Yeah. So
Yeah.
Very good. So are you what is your role with TPUSA at Cumberland? Are you the chapter president or?
I'm the vice president.
Vice
yes.
president. Okay, very good. Okay, and you guys have had a chapter there for how long, or is it new or?
So we applied to become an official chapter on campus back in, I would say, early October.
Okay.
And just have been going through the process of trying to get approved.
Okay, so it's pretty recent. Okay.
Yes.
Was it just? Did you do it right after? I forget when Charlie passed away, but was it around that time when that happened?
So it was exactly 1 week before he was assassinated
okay.
that a couple girls and our Kentucky representative went on campus to set up a table so that we could engage with students, and we got a lot of engagement with students.
Awesome.
So it was shortly before he was killed. Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay, so to set up a chapter like this at a university or a college, generally you have to get the university to, I guess, sign off on it or give some sort of permission. So what does that look like at Cumberland? I mean, is that a process you have to go through to get it officially recognized as a chapter?
Yes. So we have to go through steps with Turning Point and then also with the school. So what we did was we applied to get a sponsor that would support us and help us out with having our chapter on campus. And we did that. We got one of the professors to be our advisor, and we were super excited about that. And then we went through the process with the school to make it official. And that is when they denied us being approved. And they said that their reasoning was that we aren't an educational national organization, and those are the only national organizations they allow on their campus. And so we responded to that and said, well, we are an educational national organization because we're trying to help students learn about the Constitution and their rights and educate them on those matters. But they still denied us and said no.
Yeah, so that's why I wanted to bring you on today because I'm just shocked at that. Because I can understand some liberal arts college that has a always has been a left wing indoctrination center denying this because it's just their politics. But this, I mean, like the University of Louisville. I mean, University of Kentucky. Bellarmine University. All the major colleges that I'm aware of in our area have a Turning Point USA chapter. So, but you go to this is a Southern Baptist University, right, in Kentucky, Cumberland College, and you would think Southern Baptists, or if you know anything about Southern Baptists, they're generally pretty conservative, right? And they're denying something like this, because and everybody watching the show knows what TPUSA is about. Charlie Kirk started this. It's a very conservative organization that focuses on educating young people and mobilizing college students to help get involved in and the kind of the cultural and political battles that we're dealing with in our country, and it's so needed, and it's done such great work, and young people like yourself that are stepping up and trying to do this, to get pushback from a Baptist university, say, I just don't understand it. So when you push back to them, have you said that to say, listen, I thought we were all on the same team here. What are their feelings about it?
So I've talked to people within our chapter about it. I haven't spoken to the students, but yes, I was very surprised that we got pushback, just because it is a Christian school and seems like they would have conservative values,
Right.
and because of the liberal colleges that have chapters. So yes, I was very surprised at the pushback that we received.
So can you not operate now on campus? I mean, so they didn't, recognize you. So what does that mean? Can you not do tabling events? Can you not do events there in general? Is that
Since it's a private school, we are not allowed to set up a table and do things like that on campus. We're not allowed to host speakers or events on campus. We're still allowed to be on campus. We can't just like host anything
yeah?
there. But with us being an activism hub now, we can do things within the community and host things just around the
Okay.
area.
So you're not going to stop. You're still going to operate as a group. You're just
No,
not.
no, we're
Yeah.
not giving up. We're
Okay.
gonna keep
It's just
going, keep fighting.
there we
Yes.
go. Okay. Are there other groups on campus that they do recognize that you would think would be, maybe, opposite of how you believe, and or is it just, are they treating you fairly? In other words,
I would say they're treating us fairly in a way. There aren't any other organizations on campus that I know of that are more liberal or that are very different that I would assume that wouldn't be on campus that I know of. But yeah, they're treating us fairly.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so in other words, they're just not allowing any sort of political activism groups to operate on their campus. And
Yes,
so,
unless they're educational.
unless they're educational, but TPUSA is educational, and so I don't see the issue there. And listen, if we don't have our Christian universities out there on the front line, fighting this fight, we're lost as a country. I mean, it's the university system as a whole, and you know this as a student. It's so left wing. It's basically like a secular seminary, your average college, and the one hope you have is Christian universities, and so you would think they would celebrate something like TPUSA, but they're so are they in their pushback? What is their attitude? What is their spirit about it? Are they kind of like, you guys are just, we don't want you around here? Is it just like, hey, we're sorry, we can't do this? Or what's the,
I would say it's just very formal and not like they have specific feelings about it. There's no
okay,
emotion behind it. It's
right.
just we don't have any national organizations that aren't educational, and that's it.
Okay. All right. They're just shutting it down. Bob, I'm going to bring Bob Scott in on this. So Bob, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, what
Well,
should,
let me give you a very
yeah.
brief history of Cumberland. As I know it, my wife Caroline graduated from there when it was at the time, I believe, Cumberland College. It switched over to Cumberland University, and now officially it's known as University of the Cumberlands. When she went there, they were the Indians. And I think a little bit of political correctness and wokeness has definitely seeped in, because they changed their name to the Patriots, which is a good name.
That's fine.
I don't have a problem with that, but
the motivation of why they did it have a problem.
The motivation, that's correct. Mm-hmm. And if you recall, that's when any college that had a Native American name attached to it, that the extreme far left, the woke left, was going after them.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, the whole hysteria.
So they did do that. It's it's a good school. They're very well endowed. Very well endowed from the standpoint of money. So it is interesting, and I'll say it's disappointing. I agree with Brooklyn. I agree with you. This is something that should never be happening at a Christian university, especially. It's ignorance with regard to really understanding what Turning Point is all about. It really is about, at the heart of it, Christian values, number one, and number two, not enforcing, but bringing out constitutional ideas and very educational.
Absolutely.
And I'm disappointed mainly because they don't know what they're missing. And I'm talking about the university, and I hope that we'll start seeing a change, happen. And maybe it's doing programs like this, alumni reaching out to them and say, hey, wait a minute, what are you all doing? There's some change that absolutely needs to happen. And I applaud Brooklyn for coming on the program and sharing this, because again, and I know 99.9% of our listeners feel the same way we do. And, maybe I'd suggest maybe some of our listeners start making some phone calls.
There we go. Yeah. So I wanted to
Cumberland.
Yes. One reason I brought her on today, I wanted to basically, encourage our listeners and our viewers to make a call. I'm sure there's a lot of folks have connections with that university. This is a state university. A lot of folks, I have friends that have gone there. Your wife's gone there, and so we have a lot of influence over the decision making on this. And we really need to make this happen. We got to fight the battle on every front, and this is one of the fronts here locally we can deal with. Cumberland University should allow a TPUSA chapter to operate. And so I encourage you to call them, let them know your feelings. And we're going to see if we can do some follow-up with the university on this as well. So, Brooklyn, stay with us. We want to talk to you more about just campus life and what it's like to be a young conservative these days. So we'll be right back on Kentucky's Voice with Brooklyn Cornett with TPUSA Cumberland University.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
Back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
Welcome back to Kentucky's Voice, and oops, I got my earpiece all out of place here. Welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. I'm your host today, Tom Fallbush, and we have my co-host Bob Scott, and we have a great guest on today, Brooklyn Cornett, who's a student at Cumberland University, which is here in Kentucky, and we were just discussing in the last segment that they are denying their application to be a organization on that campus, and they're trying to launch a TPUSA chapter on this Southern Baptist Christian College. They're denying a TPUSA chapter, and it is just, it's, for the life of me, I can't understand it. And the reasoning is, I think the reasoning is somewhat, I guess, fair. They don't want any sort of activism groups, I guess, but this has an educational component to it, and that is something they would allow. So I don't know why they wouldn't do this. So Brooklyn, let's we want to encourage people to reach out to the university, and you do have an Instagram website or Instagram account that people can follow, and so we encourage people to do that, and also call the university. Just call them, email them, let them know your thoughts, and I assume that you would like to see that happen. I would assume, right?
Yes, very much.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, good deal. We're going to have our audience reach out and do that. And so, but let's talk about real quickly. Obviously, you're a young person in university age, and so what is life like right now for Gen Z? Young people, conservatives specifically. Just in college, out of college. I mean, what's the culture? Because you hear a lot of news about young Gen Z men being very conservative, and then of course the women are it could depend on who you talk to. And so, what is it? Is there a movement towards more conservative values in your generation, or is it, or do you see this cultural battle playing out within your generation as well? So,
Yeah, I definitely think that Gen Z is coming to learn more, and they're more willing to learn more about what's going on in America. They're more motivated, especially after the last administration and inflation and everything going on within our country and our economy. So I think they have learned from past mistakes, and it's really teaching them that they need to learn more about how the world works, and it's just motivated them.
yeah, exactly. It seems like there's a really unique opportunity now for new generations of young people to learn about the world because of social media, the internet. It used to be when I was younger, when I was your age, we had a few networks. You maybe had some cable channels, but the source of information was generally always biased, and you had to filter it out constantly. And now it seems like as a young person, you can just go right to some very quality information about the world that's just very, and so you have good information. Also, just the experience you've went through, like you said, the administration with inflation, but also with the lockdowns, the COVID lockdowns. I think a lot of Gen Zers went through that, and it kind of it shook their confidence in the system and in institutions and in government, and made them question, hold on, the adults are saying do all this, and this has not been helpful, and it's actually been harmful. And so I'm going to question things now in a healthy way. And do you see that happening with your generation?
Yeah, I definitely think a lot of people in my generation are very confused about the lockdown and wonder what the real motivation was behind it. And I think it really opened a lot of eyes to people in my generation, and made them start questioning things a lot more.
Absolutely. Good stuff. I wanted to say this too. We have a text line. We want to encourage our viewers and listeners to reach out and text us with a question or comment. 571-0970, 502-571-0970. If you have a question for us or Brooklyn, please send us a text. But well, good deal. So you're a sophomore, and I think you attend campus on occasion. You're also a remote student as well. So, which I think is the future of education is remote education, actually. So Bob, she mentioned that it seems like you and I have talked about Gen Z a lot, but I think what they've lived through as a generation
Yes.
is been, it forces them to look at the world
Differently.
and seek
Yep.
answers. Yeah, and seek. So it's a really refreshing thing. It's like, the left sort of has run its course with its radical agendas and its overreach, and the people who get it are the people that are coming into this world with fresh eyes and going, "What is this? What's this about?" And so
Yeah.
it's encouraging to see that. And I want
It's a good thing that's happening. We're seeing revival, that's happening, and a lot of the revival that's being led nationally is coming out of Gen Z.
That's right.
They absolutely, and you're spot on, Tom, and I'm sure Brooklyn would say the same thing. I don't know anything about her family background, but I'm guessing she has lived it, she's seen it, and is, for lack of words, not going to take it anymore. Take things at face value, and we're obviously now seeing that the pandemic/plandemic are being exposed. With regard to things that were carried out with an agenda behind it, and we know it did so much damage to people in our country, especially young people. Just because of the isolation, that happened as a result of that. Now, some good things have come about. I mean, you mentioned Brooklyn and my son, and a lot of folks are doing online activities with regard to
Education.
attending.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so in some respect, it's been good. It's opened up the world, but my son and Brooklyn, you're seeing the younger people that are engaging. My son is a Senate president, or not president, but he's on the Senate at the university that he's going to, and he is an online student and hasn't missed or skipped it. He's on other things or other activities at the school, and he gets over there a whole lot.
Yeah.
So I know Brooklyn's from the Louisville area, which is really cool too. We may hire her in the future if things work out, because I believe Brooklyn. We talked a little bit about it, but you have some aspirations. You're doing a minor in journalism?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about that and where your hit is with regard to that and moving forward.
Yeah. So from a very young age, I've always loved politics. I've always loved writing. So it just seemed like the natural thing to study that in college. And so in the future, I'm not exactly sure where I'm headed, but I definitely know it will be working
I'm
in.
not either.
Well, Brooklyn, let me ask you this too. If you had a message to adults or people, well, you are an adult, but I mean, just older adults like ourselves, people that are, in their careers or middle age or older, about the way that your generation is seeing the world, and what are some of the what's the key thing you'd want to leave us with right now? It's like, because every generation has its own perspective and its own message that it brings to the world. So what is that? Well, what do you see happening from your generation, and how do you want to explain that to others?
Well, my generation is future leaders of America. So I believe that older people should take a chance on us and listen to what we have to say, and encourage us to keep speaking our voice and welcome open debate, which is exactly what Charlie Kirk did.
Exactly right. Yeah, I assume you watched a lot of his online videos and his debates, campus debates, and that has done so much good for this country. Just his tabling events. So I assume are you going to try to do tabling events again at Cumberland?
Yes, we have to be an official organization on campus, but once that happens, yes.
Okay, well, that's going to happen, and we're going to help do that. So, so I encourage all of our listeners and viewers to call Cumberland University and tell them your thoughts about this. It's not right to deny wonderful students.
And do it. Let me throw this in real quick.
Yeah,
do it
ahead.
in a nice professional manner,
That's
not
right.
an accusatory manner.
That's right.
A little bit of honey goes a lot further than vinegar, in the process.
But if
the
you're a
key
donor and
is-
you want to withdraw your donors money from the university, that might go a long way too. So I don't. So we'll see. Let's use some what a carrot and stick there. Listen, hey Brooklyn, thanks for being on the show. We'll be right back on Kentucky's Voice.
Thank you.
Back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
Well, welcome back to Kentucky's Voice, and we want to encourage you again to reach out to Cumberland University, let them know your thoughts about that TPUSA chapter there, or allowing that to happen. It still shocks me that a Christian university wouldn't allow this. It's one of the most first of all, it's outside of just the political activism, it's one of the most evangelical organizations in the country right now that's doing more to help young people, line up their faith and with action better than any group I've ever seen. And so, I don't understand who's running these universities now. I think honestly, a lot of these Christian universities, Bob, have been infiltrated by a lot of left-wing thinking, just like a lot of evangelical churches have been infiltrated by a lot of woke thinking. Matter of fact, there's a great author, her name is Megan Basham. Megan Basham. She wrote a great book on this topic called Shepherds for Sale, and she basically documented how over the past decade or more that there has been organized attempts by left-wing NGOs and big donors to get into into what they call the big E or the big evangelical movement, and
they know how
subvert
powerful it has been.
That's right.
As a block, and don't have any doubts about that, folks. It's 100% happening and has happened.
That's right.
And how are they getting in there? I hate saying this, but they're using money.
That's right.
To help swing those doors open. And without going into a lot of detail right now, because we weren't really planning on necessarily talking about this, just know it's happening, and they have attempted to infiltrate, and they've infiltrated some organizations.
They've done it. They succeeded.
That you never thought would happen.
That's right. A lot of these major evangelical ministries over the past decade who started preaching a little bit of the social justice stuff, a little bit. They were a little wobbly when it came to the lockdowns, where they would shut down churches. There's a reason behind this. It's because basically a lot of this comes from people like George Soros, the Ford Foundation. A lot of these big left-wing organizations were basically targeting evangelical leadership to start changing their tune on certain positions, and did it in a very subversive way. Like, it's the Christian thing to do to have this sort of view, and and what happens? A lot of leadership, a lot of evangelical leadership, Protestant leadership, they always had this instinct to want to be accepted by the elites in this country, because Christian evangelicals have always been sort of the working class, grassroots sort of part of the culture, and the elites within that group have always aspire to be appreciated by the cultural elites. And so when they get in, when the cultural elites and the left-wing elites started reaching out to these folks and saying, hey, we'll accept you if you just adjust this and just twist this a little bit, it really had an impact. And plus, you started throwing a lot of money around, and that impacted, of course, these big ministries. And this book, Shepherds for Sale, she names all the names of who gave the money and who. And so it's a great. We'll have to get her on the show one day. But it also impacted universities, Christian universities, and a lot of the major centers of evangelical seminaries, for example, have started turning left wing or just not traditional and conservative in their approach to even Christian doctrine. So that's why I think one reason why you see the evangelical church, the Christian church, Protestant church in America, the traditional conservative Protestant church in America, not the mainline churches. So why they've been sort of weak in the past few years as far as their strength, and a lot of young people that are starting to come to faith, a lot of them are becoming Catholic, or they're becoming Orthodox. I know your son has an interest in Orthodoxy, and so but they're not going to the local Baptist church or the Southeast Christians, or where 20 years ago the Southeast Christian had all the energy. Now it's the Orthodox Church, St. Michael's Orthodox Church here in Louisville's got all the energy. So it's something's going on, and you can point it at this subversive targeting of the evangelical movement by the left, by the far left. They knew that the core of the conservative movement in America, especially on cultural issues, has always been the evangelical conservative, moral majority. The group, the Pat Robertson era, the what's the other guy, the moral majority guy from the 70s? Whatever, the Baptist guy. Anyway, that's where the energy has always been in the party. And so well, if we can undermine that, if we can go in there and change their theology and get them to be more winsome and more middle of the road, then it would be a huge win, and it was.
And you're thinking of Jerry Falwell.
Jerry Falwell. There we go. Jerry Falwell. Yeah. And so that era is over now. So anyway, so pay attention, folks. If you're going to a church and you hear a lot of this woke stuff, or they start sneaking in a little bit of social justice or DEI, or maybe we should celebrate, BLM, or maybe our church should go out and march with Breonna Taylor, that kind of stuff. Get out of that church, because they have been taken over by some bad thinking and some social justice is basically just communism repackaged.
Well, and Tom, did you see the video that's been circulating? I know I shared it on my personal page of folks that were training on how to go and seed discord at political events, specifically ICE events. Does that sound familiar? Okay. That's going on. And this was happening at a church, you know. And they were training and showing them how to be disruptive, in that process. And again, the more we find out about this young lady, a young woman that lost her life in Minneapolis, it becomes honestly a much clearer picture of the way she was trained. I think the way she was brainwashed into doing what she did. She was clearly breaking the law, as far as interfering with the lawful actions of a federal police officer in trying to apprehend a criminal, in our country. And on what planet, especially here in America, is that ever going to be right?
Exactly right. Yeah. And there's a real movement to push back against federal law enforcement on the left, and they're justifying it with this fantasy that these are not legitimate police officers, or right. We can actually win by resisting arrest or blocking the efforts of ICE, and it's going to turn into a lot more deadly confrontations, and there's another lady yesterday who was pulled out of her car in Minneapolis, and it's just, as a matter of fact, I want to play. This is happening somewhat in Louisville as well. There was a protest right after the shooting last week. I want to play this story from Spectrum, and to show you this is people here in Louisville are rallying around this stuff, and it is Mr. Producer. I'm going to get this played here.
A group of demonstrators gathered in downtown Louisville Thursday night, joining protests nationwide after Renee Nicole Good was shot and killed by an ICE agent in Minneapolis, an incident that remains under federal investigation. Among the crowd was Megan Wingfield, an activist and congressional candidate in Kentucky's 2nd District.
I actually got my start in the political sphere with activism. This is something that I've done for a long time, and we have to stand together and speak out, because if we don't, then they're going to continue to do what they're doing now.
Protesters say the demonstration was sparked by concerns over immigration enforcement and accountability following the shooting.
People think that these things are happening in other places, but they are here. And it's just going to get worse.
Federal agents have been in Minnesota since last month as a part of Operation Metro Surge, with the Department of Homeland Security calling it one of the largest immigration operations ever, with over 2,000 ICE agents in the state. U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem addressed the incident during a press conference, defending the actions of the agent that shot Good, saying it was self-defense.
Let's remember the events that surrounded what happened yesterday on that tragic situation, was that these individuals had followed our officers all day, had harassed them, had blocked them in. They were impeding our law enforcement operations, which is against the law.
Protesters dispute that explanation, saying the shooting highlights ongoing issues with ICE enforcement nationwide. For Wingfield, this protest is a part of a longer fight.
It's going to be a long, hard road. Change and finding this justice, it's not linear, it's rarely unopposed, and it isn't swift. But we have to put in the work and show the resilience that I think resides in the soul of every American. This racist system has to fall!
In the meantime, the Trump administration has repeatedly stood in support of their agents, claiming they have absolute immunity while participating in federal operations. In Louisville, Destiny Flowers, Spectrum News.
It's not claiming, they do. I mean, either we have federal law trumping local law, or we don't have a country. Anyway, I want to make a point about the lady that organized this Megan Wingfield. Looks like she's going to be running for the congressional seat here. I think McGarvey's seat or something. But it's interesting that, and I looked at her profile, social media profile. It looks like she's part of the LGBT movement, and something about that movement. And I kind of joke around that you got these high priestesses of the LGBT religion that are running around driving the pushing all these agendas, and I mean, look at the lady that was shot. Renee Good herself. She's part of that movement, and it's not to just zero in on that movement, but the movement is just so easy to zero in on because
and did you see one? And by the way, folks, if you want to join in this conversation, please feel free to text us at 502-571-0970. But to your point, Tom, one of the signs, at that rally was socialism beats fascism or something to that effect. And I would contend and say they're one and the same.
That's right. It is socialism.
Fascism there is no difference. That's how they're trying to blur the lines
exactly
with regard to this issue. And that's where we as conservatives, and specifically Christian conservatives, need to speak out. I can tell you, and I challenge any person that calls himself a socialist to try to come on this show and tell us where socialism has ever worked anywhere in the world, where it's been successful, where it has ever ended good. I could tell you it never has.
Never has, yeah. And just in that protest, the usual suspects. You see the keffiyehs, the Palestinian keffiyeh, headdress on some 20-year-old white girl. It's like, what? Yeah, it's just this crazy amalgamation of all this weird left-wing stuff. Good thing is they're marginalizing themselves to the mainstream of the American public. People are not going along with this protest stuff. We'll be right back.
Kentucky's Voice is your home for real news, real people, and real answers. But we can't do it without you. Your financial support helps us bring truth to the forefront, hold leaders accountable, and give a voice to the people of the Commonwealth. Join the fight today. Give online at kyvoice.org or text KYVoice to 53555. Every gift makes a difference. Stand with us. Speak up. Stay strong. You are Kentucky's voice.
back to Kentucky's Voice Radio online at kyvoice.org.
All right, welcome back to Kentucky's Voice, and your host today, Tom Fallbush, with Bob Scott, and we were talking about the ICE protests and all this stuff going on. You know, there is some good news in Kentucky in regards to this topic. Right now, the session, the biannual budget session is ongoing, and there's some bills being put forth that are going to address some of these issues. One of our favorite guests here on the show, T.J. Roberts, he just put forth a bill, House Bill 88, I believe. Is that what it is? No, 47, House Bill 47. It's basically Kentucky must protect its citizens and uphold the rule of law. That's why I filed HB 47 to require all law enforcement agencies and the Kentucky State Police to partner with ICE through the 287G Task Force Model Program. So what this does, officers will be trained and authorized to identify, process, and detain criminal aliens encountered during routine duties, ensuring swift removal of threats to our communities. This is a proven federal program that enhances public safety, deters illegal immigration, and supports our brave men and women in blue. Basically, he was saying that Kentucky is functionally a sanctuary state because you can get arrested here in the state if you're an illegal, and in our jails and our judges, they do not look at immigration status, and they just release people. If they're going to put them out on bail or whatever, or if they're found innocent or something, they just release them. They don't check immigration status. So this is going to change that. This bill will help change that. So Kentucky, we need to become more aggressive here locally in enforcing immigration. We can do that. We don't have to leave it all up to the federal government. ICE doesn't have to do all the work. We can have local law enforcement engage with this. There's just a matter of political will. And we've had a lot of weak-kneed, liberal mayors in this state that won't do that. But I think the state legislature is going to force their hands on this and get their police departments trained to do this and encourage them to do this. So we applaud T.J. Roberts on that. So get behind that bill. So Bob, what are your thoughts on that? Why Kentucky law enforcement should be asking about immigration status, and if they find somebody that's illegal, out, just get them out.
Again, Tom, it's an example of a bill that really shouldn't have had to be filed, but
right.
in today's crazy political climate, I applaud TJ for doing that. It's something that needs to be made clear. I know Louisville has backed down, at least on paper, from the Sanctuary City movement, mainly because they were afraid of losing federal funding. But that's not to say that the spirit and the heart is still not leaning in that direction,
Exactly.
So I think what this bill will do, it'll bring some clarity, to that situation. And golly, why would we not want there to be a cooperative effort going on between federal police agencies and agencies in our state? I don't know. I'm naive, I guess, but I do not understand why it's so difficult to look at the situation. And when somebody is an illegal, again, the key word, illegal immigrant, which is a violation of federal law. Why this is being, we know the answer, and I'm being a little coy as far as, draw my I guess parallelisms, to it. We know the answer. We know that it is an intentional attempt. Biden flooded the country with illegals, doubled more in his presidency than any president ever. And it was intentional. They want to. They know that they can get most of those illegals that are coming in to vote Democrat.
That's right.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and dilute your voting power. Right, everybody that's a native-born American, when they bring in an immigrant, illegal or not, it dilutes your power, dilutes your voting power, and dilutes your economic power, and they're basically taking away from you. And so people need to realize this is just theft. It's theft from a tax base, from I mean, first of all, to be here illegally, you're stealing residency. Okay, that's a theft right there. Then you're stealing the use of our roads. Then you're stealing the use of our hospitals. Then you're stealing the use of our schools. Then you're stealing away jobs from Americans that should have the job that this person took. And so it is just theft. And then the political power that they're trying to take away from you. The proof of that is Mondami. Mondami got elected by the immigration wave of immigration that's occurred in New York over the past 20 years. And so that's why. So that's going to happen in every American city. And Mondami's number one model is his whole motive is with this whole socialism stuff is basically we're here now. We're going to take stuff away from you Native Americans, you native born Americans. We're here to get your stuff. You've treated us bad. We colonialism, whatever, all this garbage. We're here to take away your resources and your stuff. And that's all this is. So it's just theft. And so we need to stand up and understand what it is. And react against it and defend against it. So great, T.J. Roberts. Also, he's putting forth House Bill 88, which is going to allow us to participate in the federal school choice program, which is the one big beautiful bill contained a provision to help. Let me read this right. One big beautiful bill act contains an excellent tax cut to help children attain educational opportunities. People can donate up to $1,700 per year to a charitable scholarship granting organizations that provide financial assistance to families earning less than 300% of the area's median income. This donation is credited 100% towards your federal taxes. So it's a dollar for dollar donation. And so this isn't money coming out of the public schools, out of the tax base for public schools. This is just money from the just the overall federal tax base that can be set up to as a fund to set up school choice. So this state is going to have school choice. That's exciting, and just despite of what how we shot that bill down in the last election. That constitutional amendment, despite all that, we're still going to have school choice, and it's going to be wonderful for parents and students. And so I'm encouraged by that. Any thoughts on that, Bob?
No, I likewise just feel absolutely fantastic about that. I think it's a good thing, long overdue. It is absolutely a workaround. With our governor who stood with the teachers unions, not with the people of Kentucky. It's a good thing, and I do think it's going to pass overwhelmingly in our majority controlled. When I say our, I'm talking about the Republican controlled Senate and House during this session. So there's some really good things going on, and I know Tom, you have a video. I'm going to segue just a little bit if you're done talking about the great things.
Sure, absolutely.
And there's other things. And by the way, folks, I'm going to tease this. This is another huge. I almost forgot about this. Senator Aaron Reed is going to be on the program tomorrow to talk about bringing back, the ability to get your driver's license to the local area like it was before. It got basically the Bashir administration got its hands on that and, went to these regional sites, which we've seen corruption and really worse, made it more difficult for the citizens of Kentucky to go get something as simple. It should be as simple as getting a driver's license. So this is exciting. And I've been told this bill, it's in the Senate. I know it's Senate Bill 7. It is being also pushed in the House as well, but I'm told it's being given very high priority.
I was about to go to that actually, and House Bill 162, Savannah Maddox has put that forward to basically change the driver's license system and put it back into the counties. It used to be just at the county. You go to your local county clerk and just get your driver's license. Now, then they moved to this whole. If you got a driver's license in the past years, the routine you had to go through. So that's awesome. This is interesting to see our government at the state level really respond to some practical, everyday bread and butter issues like this. Immigration, driver's license. I'm really proud of our.
Have you heard one person that's happy about this regional
nobody.
monstrosity?
Yeah, right.
As far as driver's license, saying, "Hey, this is a great thing. I love driving 45 minutes to an hour and spending, once I get there, another hour to 2 hours, sometimes longer than that, to get a driver's license done. Has one person that you're aware of said that this is a good thing?
No, not at all. And so anyway, well, I'll tell you what, we got a little bit of time. Let me play this video. This is about the Iran deal. And why don't you set this up?
Yeah, no, it's a very important video, phenomenal interview. Brit Hume with Fox did yesterday with an Iranian leader. Very revealing. So yeah, if we could squeeze that in, that'd be fantastic.
Still muted.
You were saying that all of this is because you're not in control of your country and foreign elements are killing people inside your country?
No, I'm telling you that it was a fighting between our security forces and terrorist elements who had a plan to create a big number of killings in order to provoke President Trump to enter into this conflict and start a new war against Iran. And that was exactly an Israeli plot. The footages that you mentioned have not been seen in Iran. I have to tell you that a misinformation campaign is going on at the same time.
And you're suggesting that it's Israel and Mossad acting like Iranian forces, shooting the Iranian people to make casualties to spur on the action of President Trump. I'm just saying there's a lot of people that don't believe that, Mr. Foreign Minister.
No, Mossad has already confessed that.
They may be on the ground, sir, but as far as them killing hundreds and hundreds of people to make it look like you did, it does not appear in the video that we get out that this is a full level of calm. It appears that protests continue in a number of different cities.
Crazy. So basically, he's saying the Israelis are in there shooting up all these protesters, and the Islamic mullahs who are trying to.
Yeah, and it's not to say Israel has not and Mossad hasn't had a presence here. We know they have.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely ludicrous to think that they're going in and killing hundreds, if not thousands, of people and gunning them down and cutting off the internet access. Come on now. Come on.
Right.
Yeah.
The real question I have, and I haven't seen an Iranian expert really unpack this, is it's just how much support from a population standpoint does the Ayatollahs and the regime have versus percentage of the population that supports the overthrow. And because if it's a large enough base of support, they can organize a defense, a kinetic offense, the defense of their regime. And so that means you're going to need a kinetic offense, and that's a civil war. And so Iran could go into some sort of civil war and I just wonder if that's where we're heading, and which, I guess could be a positive, could be a negative, but certainly hopefully we can tip the scales with some American influence here. So anyway, well, listen, thanks for joining us today on Kentucky's Voice. We'll be back tomorrow. We have a great guest tomorrow with Aaron Reed, and appreciate you joining us. Call Cumberland College.